After the election, it comes out that one of the candidates, the DFL candidate, did not live in his district.
Curtis Johnson.
Curtis Johnson. And the courts in Minnesota historically have taken a very hands-off approach on this. If you can provide just any connection to your district, they'll say it's for the voters to decide, not us. You say you're a resident there, you got a bill, you live in your district. You really, really have to be a special level of foolish to not meet the residency requirement. Well, the DFL pulled it off. They found someone, and a judge
They pulled off someone with that high degree of foolishness.
Correct. And so a judge ruled that he did not meet the residency requirement. Election certificate does not go to the chief clerk. There's going to have to be a special election.
Right.
So now the House of Representatives, instead of being 67-67, is 67-66.
Right.
Okay. And that's temporary. There's going to be a special election at some point. You know, the Democrats think they're going to win it, and they probably will. But for now, it's 67-66.
Right.
Okay. Which brings us up to the first day of session, which is supposed to be tomorrow. On the first day, the Republicans will have more members than Democrats.
By one.
By one. And that's all you need, right? Republicans are slated to elect Lisa Damath as Speaker of the House. She would be the first Republican Speaker in 6 years. She would be the first black woman to be the Speaker of the House in Minnesota.
I didn't know she was black.
Yep.
Lisa is.
Yep.
Okay.
She would be the first black woman to be the Speaker of the House in Minnesota history, historic election. But again, remember, it's 67-66. This is not a permanent thing. And this sort of temporary majority, for lack of a better word, is most likely only going to be in place until the next special election.
January 28th.
And that's a whole separate issue about whether that's going to take place or not. But just for now, it's 67-66. And so for whatever reason, the Democrats are saying that there should be power sharing in the speaker's position. It should not be just a Republican speaker. Now, in terms of what this means for your listeners and viewers, it doesn't mean anything. You still need 68 votes to change the law. Mm-hmm. If you want to spend money, you want to change the law, you need 68 votes in the Senate, 68 votes in the House, 34 votes in the Senate, and the governor's signature. That's the only way a bill becomes a law. So it just begs the question is, why all this fighting over what is kind of a palace intrigue and on the inside? So that's the setup to what happened yesterday. Mm-hmm. Okay, is the House is currently 67-66. The Republicans have the votes to elect a speaker. DFL members don't like that. And what Republicans have started saying is, if you don't show up and do your job, you're vacating the position, and we're going to initiate recall proceedings against your members.
Do you agree with that?
No.
Okay.
I suppose let me clarify that. I would say at some point you could initiate that, right? But where we're at right now is you've got, for lack of a better way of describing it, two kids that are coming into the house crying about each other, and the courts, who are the adults in the room, and the public, who are the adults in the room, are telling them, go back outside and figure it out. Mm-hmm. Right? So in the meantime, they're trying to get the upper hand over each other, present, stronger legal arguments.
He started it.
He said this. Now there's a whole bunch of other stuff going on. I'm happy to share with you on. But at the end of the day, this is all taking place in a dynamic where the governor and the lieutenant governor are at each other's throats. Mm-hmm. And in the state Senate, Senator Carrie Dietzig, who was a really, really good person, she passed away from cancer in late December. So the Senate is 33-33. It's just dead tied. Now the Senate, they've got a temporary power sharing agreement. They're figuring stuff out over there. But in the House of Representatives, the governor's not getting involved in this, either by accident or design. And in the House of Representatives, the Democrats want to have more control. They want to have more power than what the current 67-66 allotment allows them. And
well, they can't. The math doesn't work for them.
Right. So that's why they're staying away.
And didn't they cheat by having? They knew perfectly well that this Curtis Johnson fellow didn't live in the district.
So, okay, I'm choosing to be like, let me just take a step back here. So you guys are like, geez, Garofalo seems incredibly relaxed or medicated today, whichever one it is. So we are in this phase here where both sides have been escalating, right?
Yeah.
There's nobody up there calming things down.
Right.
Okay. These guys have got to figure it out. They got to reach an agreement. It can't be someone else telling them what to do. And what people have been saying the last couple of weeks and whatnot, okay, is this posturing for negotiations or is it stuff they really believe? Let me just give you from the DFL perspective why I think one of the reasons they're escalating. You had this special election. They had this election out in Shakopee, right? So DFL or Brad Tapke got elected. Turns out his margin of victory was only 14 votes.
Right.
However, the county attorney recognized that 20 lawfully casted votes, totally legal and everything, got thrown away.
Yep.
And so that issue is currently in litigation. Mm-hmm. So what do you do with that? Do you order a new election? Do you let this guy get seated? There's a big fight about that. Some Republicans, because ultimately the courts can do whatever they want, but ultimately the House of Representatives decides who sits there. Some Republicans have been saying, we don't care what the courts say. We're going to boot this guy out and force a special election. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's a good idea. Mm-hmm. All right. If the courts say that the election certificate stays, I don't think elected officials should be overturning elections. Mm-hmm. But on the flip side, I don't think it's a good idea that the Democrats skip session to get what they want. Mm-hmm. And so you've got this escalation of you're going to do this, I'm going to do that. You know, what can and cannot the Republicans do with 67 votes on the first day of session? And people need, this is a good time for leaders in elected office to calm down, take a step back, and figure out an agreement. Because ultimately, it's going to take Republican and DFL votes to change the law and do their jobs in this state. Then it's not going to take the courts telling them what to do. So is that sufficiently boring and pragmatic?